Morning, students. So let us start our class. And today I will be analyzing chapters 15 onwards. Rajmohan's wife. We have been we have already analyzed till chapter 14. Now here let us look at chapter 15. As you can see, the title of this chapter is Consultations and Counsel. So a kind of a meeting is hinted at. Um, Here, the plot is slightly advanced, and the moral conflict, the criminal conspiracies, and psychological tensions, which are very much uh, to be found in this novel, they are revealed. Now, firstly, let us look at this exposure of the criminal conspiracy. So here, the setting of this chapter is a jungle hideout, which is occupied by this dacoit leader who is called the Sardar, and he is accompanied by his uh, companion who is called Viku. Now they are talking, so the dialogue is there, and we understand that they are about to steal a valuable legal document which they have been actually assigned to do this. And obviously, we understand that it was Mathur Ghosh who had asked them to do that. So the corruption, obviously, the greed that is revealed. Now, the Sardar is obviously relying on cunning, and he is going to resort to cunning in order to take this document. Now, the readers, we as readers, we become aware of the suspense that is created, and we understand that danger is going to befall Madhub's house. The second important uh, issue here is Matangini's character. She is the moral center. Though she does not appear in this chapter directly, but her influence is felt. Now, the Sardar obviously understands, and he says that it was Matangini uh, who had warned Madhav, and therefore their their plot was foiled. So again, we are reminded of her courage, sense of justice. So the moral force of the novel is obviously Matangini. And as we have seen in the previous chapters, her actions, they contrast sharply with the selfishness and criminality of the men around her. Now, third important point to remember here is Rajmohan's inner conflict. So this is one of the major aspects of the novel when Rajmohan is talking with the Sardar. Um, Now, the Sardar insists that Matangini should be eliminated because she is a danger to their schemes. Now, here we see that Rajmohan has a kind of a complex personality. He obviously hates his wife and he is a very jealous person. And as we have seen throughout, he has treated her cruelly. Still, he is hesitating to kill her. So he says that he lacks the courage to murder her. So maybe there is still a little bit of humanity that is there in him. So it is a kind of a psychological conflict which the novelist shows. Here, next point that we come across is the Sardar's dominance. He manipulates Rajmohan through the kind of threats He persuades him, and uh, in a way, Rajmohan is persuaded to join their group. So the Sardar emerges as a figure of authority whose influence extends beyond ordinary criminal activity. So obviously, Rajmohan emerges as a weak individual who is manipulated by the Sardar. The atmosphere of mystery and suspense is, of course, very much prevalent here, and Bankim Chandra presents this atmosphere. He describes the jungle hideout of these dacoits vividly, and how it is hidden from public view, and it symbolizes secrecy, danger, and moral darkness. So the criminal nature of these characters are very much revealed. There is a kind of a dramatic ending to this chapter, because Rajmohan thought that Matangini had returned home, but soon he discovers that she is not to be found. She has disappeared. So he tries to look for her, search for her, but he fails to locate her. So it increases suspense. It raises questions about Matungini's fate, what has happened to her. And the reader is prepared by the novelist for the future dramatic developments. And it emphasizes Matungini's independence and determination, that she has taken a decision to leave her husband's house. So the unresolved ending compels the reader to continue reading. So there is this element of suspense, as we saw. So the themes in this chapter: good versus evil, obviously, Matungini versus the uh, criminals; moral conflict, Rajmohan struggles between cruelty and conscience; power and manipulation, the kind of power that the Sardar uh, wields; female courage, obviously, Matungini's actions, um, which prove that she is, though she occupies a vulnerable position, she is a courageous woman. And lastly, suspense and mystery. The readers are kept in suspense as to what would happen next. So, if we analyze uh, chapter 15, it is one of the most effective chapters in the novel, because it combines psychological insight, dramatic tension, and plot advancement. The plot also advances, and Bankim Chandra skillfully develops Rajmohan's character, and he is seen as a person with kind of moral ambiguity. In contrast, it raises Matungini in our eyes, and the sense of excitement and anticipation obviously is there. So the novelist, though he is writing a novel for the first time, and that too in the English language, we can see that he's blending domestic drama, crime narrative, psychological realism. So obviously, it is a turning point, this chapter, in this particular novel. So this is chapter 15. Now we will move on to chapter 16, where this chapter is titled What Befell Our Hero. So our hero obviously means Madhav Ghosh, though he does not have the full heroic qualities. Still, he is referred to as the hero. And here also, suspense, psychological depth, mystery, everything is used. In this chapter, Madhav Ghosh emerges as the central figure. So it begins with Madhav alone in his house. He is troubled by two issues. What would happen to the lawsuit that has been filed, and how he is also concerned with the mysterious disappearance of Matongini. So he appears as a sensitive, noble, reflective character. Obviously, he is very much different from his cousin Mathur Ghosh, and he is guided by conscience and genuine feelings. So he does not know what has happened to Matongini, uh, but he is very certain about this, that she has not acted dishonorably. So he has some confidence in her character, some kind of understanding is there, and a deep emotional bond is also there. Now, the theme of repressed love is there. Obviously, Madhav's suppressed affection for Matungini, the social conventions and circumstances forced him to restrain his feelings. But her disappearance rekindles them with greater intensity. So it is a kind of a moral admiration or emotional attachment. And Madhav's sorrow and anxiety humanize him and make him one of the most sympathetic characters in the novel. There is psychological realism as we see here. Madhav is sitting alone. Bankim Chandra portrays him like that. He is reflecting on the past events and he's thinking about Matongini's fate. So we uh, we can see different emotions: fear, hope, grief, uncertainty. So these are portrayed with vivid, quite a vivid colors. So the introspective passage, uh, Madhav's thought processes. It obviously points out Bankim Chandra's ability to explore the inner lives of his characters, a feature that distinguishes Rajmohan's wife from many contemporary adventure narratives. So the writer here is going deep into the minds of the characters. Creation of suspense, that is another important thing. Um Madhav notices a strange object appearing and disappearing behind a tree, but Bankim Chandra does not reveal too much on this. So it is revealed slowly. Now, Madhav becomes curious and he tries to kind of, he feels a kind of uncertainty what to do. And but this object is coming and going, so it is not very visible. And the readers, they also feel that some kind of danger is going to befall Madhav. There is the symbolism of darkness. Uh, Here, this chapter is actually uh, it is taking place at night. So the contrast between the lighted room and the darkness outside has symbolic significance. So the light that is there in the room, in the house, it represents civilization, security, reason. But the darkness, of course, it reveals or it symbolizes danger, conspiracy, and the unknown. Now, Madhav leaves the safety of his house, he goes outside, and then he is at the mercy of the evil forces. Madhav here shows considerable courage. Instead of summoning his servants or ignoring the suspicious lights, he decides to investigate personally. So he arms himself with a small sword and he goes towards that tree where those mysterious things were being seen. Now, of course, he is brave, personal bravery is revealed. He has a sense of responsibility because he wants to know and understand whether that is a threat to his household. and he is determined to confront danger and to do that alone. So it is a kind of, you can say in this chapter, Madhav is portrayed as some kind of a hero. So, what befalls our hero? That is the title. So, in some ways, he attains this stature, not from physical strength, but from a psychological standpoint. Now, obviously, the next thing that happens, Madhav is suddenly attacked, he is disarmed, he is gagged, and is carried away by two unknown men. So it takes place all of a sudden, and he's taken away. So the kidnapping serves several narrative purposes. It intensifies the conflict, it places the hero in immediate danger, it increases the mystery surrounding the conspiracy. It prepares the ground for future dramatic developments. The chapter now ends abruptly, leaving the reader eager to discover Madhav's fate. So the readers uh, do not know uh, who are these people who have abducted Madhav. Now, here, if we look at the narrative technique, Bankim Chandra's strengths as a novelist, detailed psychological portrayal, effective use of suspense, atmospheric descriptions, the build up of the scene, gradual build up to a dramatic climax, the skillful blending of romance and adventure, and the movement from quiet reflection to violent action. So, obviously, it demonstrates excellent control over pacing. So, the pace of the novel quickens towards the end of this chapter. So, this chapter, chapter 16, we can say that it is full of suspense, and it marks a turning point with the abduction of Madhav. So, at the beginning, Madhav's reflections obviously are portrayed. That adds to the emotional dimension of the story. But at the end, the mysterious abduction introduces a new level of danger and excitement. So we can see Bankim Chandra, what he is doing here, he is combining psychological realism, romantic sentiment, and thrilling action. So all the ingredients of you know, a novel which will interest the readers. So the portrayal of Madhav is obviously the one good male character here, a sensitive person, a noble person who is concerned for Matangini. And the chapter ends on a note of uncertainty. Obviously, the readers do not know where he has been taken, who has abducted Madhav. So, what will happen to him? So, the suspense is built up. So, this is chapter 16. Let us move on to the next one. I'm trying to wrap up this novel as quickly as possible, because then I have another text, as you know. So uh, we have to try to analyze these chapters quickly. Chapter 17, The Vigilance of Love. Now, it is a psychologically rich chapter that shifts attention from the adventures of Madhav to the domestic world of Mothur and Tara. Now, Tara is a deeply devoted wife. Mothur's secret anxiety and the growing atmosphere of mystery surrounding the conspiracy is portrayed. So, emotional realism with suspense, making the chapter an important link between the novel's domestic and criminal plots. The first thing to note is the character of Tara, who is the ideal wife. Here, Tara is the central character in this chapter. She notices subtle changes in her husband's behavior and immediately realizes that something is troubling him. Her observations demonstrate her intelligence, sensitivity, and deep emotional attachment. So, Bankim Chandra portrays Tara as the ideal 19th century wife who is loving, patient, self sacrificing, and completely devoted to her husband. Though Mathur Ghosh obviously is not an ideal husband. She carefully notices his sadness, his lack of interest in family affairs, and even his changed attitudes towards their child. So obviously she feels troubled. So Tara represents marital fidelity, domestic virtue. Her character contrasts sharply with the selfish and scheming characters found elsewhere in the novel, and she embodies the moral strength of womanhood. After Matongini, we come across another female character uh, who can be taken as the embodiment of virtue. Now, Mothur's psychological conflict that is portrayed here. He is deeply disturbed and he tries to conceal his anxiety, but he fails to deceive Tara. So, sorry, his wife suspects that he is involved in some dangerous activity and he is burdened by guilt, or he feared something. So now Bankim Chandra does not reveal what is troubling Mathur, but gradually he reveals it and the readers are able to understand. So there is an indirect method that is adopted, which builds up psychological depth and suspense. So Mathur appears as a compromised character who is suffering the consequences of his actions. Now, the theme of marital love obviously is there. Title of the chapter is The Vigilance of Love. Obviously refers to Tara's watchful affection. So he is an observant woman and intuitive, kind of understands what is wrong, and she notices what others might overlook. So now Tara here in this chapter gladly tells Mathur that she would sacrifice her life for his happiness. So it shows the intensity of her devotion and the emotional tragedy of her marriage to a husband who does not fully deserve such love. Number fourth point is suspense and mystery that is there. From domestic conversation to mystery, a strange cry resembling that of a screech owl is heard suddenly, and Mothur is alarmed at this and he runs outside. So, this uh, sound it is a device to advance the plot, and it is also a symbol of danger and secrecy. It is a means of connecting the domestic sphere with the criminal conspiracy. So the reader realizes that Mathur is involved in secret activities, but the exact nature of those activities remains hidden. So it obviously creates a sense of suspense. The thing to note here is Tara's courage and intelligence. Instead of remaining passive, Tara uh, decides to investigate her husband's behavior. She climbs to the terrace, watches him secretly, and follows his movements with great attention. So she is curious, she is courageous, she is, of course, intelligent, and she is determined to find out what is troubling him. So we see that Tara, as a housewife, she is confined to the inner domestic world, but she is an active observer of events and quite intelligent. So Bunkim presents a woman who is emotionally devoted, yet she is mentally alert and capable. Now, symbolism in this chapter. The screech owl. The owl's cry functions as a symbol of evil intentions, hidden danger, approaching disaster. So all these things. A kind of a secret signal. It is a kind of a secret signal which links Mothur with unknown associates. Now there is the symbol of darkness and night. The events occur under cover of darkness. Night, of course, symbolizes secrecy, crime, moral uncertainty. And Mothur, when he moves through the darkness, reflects the hidden nature of his activities. There is dramatic irony. A notable feature of the chapter is dramatic irony. Tara knows that something is wrong, but does not know the full truth. Readers, however, understand that Mothur is connected with dangerous conspiracies. Now, this difference between what Tara knows and what readers suspect creates emotional tension and keeps the narrative engaging. The reader is prepared for the future events. The chapter serves as an important transitional chapter. Tara's decision to investigate her husband's mysterious conduct prepares the reader for future revelations. The secret visit to the isolated godown suggests that significant discoveries will soon be made. So, Mothur goes to this godown. Uh, so, if we look at the chapter critically, we can see little physical action, but it is rich in emotional intensity and suspense. Bankim Chandra brilliantly portrays Tara's loving vigilance and Mothur's troubled conscience. This chapter deepens characterization, heightens mystery, and prepares the ground for the dramatic events that follow. Its greatest achievement lies in its portrayal of Tara. Obviously, we see that she is a devoted woman, but not blind. Blindly, she does not blindly support her husband. She is a kind of a symbolizing an active force. So, Bonkim demonstrates that affection can become a form of moral insight and courage. So, domestic realism, psychological analysis, suspense, all are portrayed with remarkable effectiveness throughout this chapter. So, chapter 7 ends here, and chapter 18, Captors and Captive. This chapter, let us look at this. Here it is the one of the most suspenseful and psychologically intense chapters. It focuses on Madhav Ghosh's imprisonment in Mothur's secret dungeon and reveals Bankim Chandra Chattpadhyay's remarkable skill in creating atmosphere, suspense, and character conflict. So the first novel written in English, it shows certain, skills in his writing. The chapter advances the central conspiracy while highlighting Madhav's courage and moral strength. So Madhav has been taken to this dungeon, this go down. This is a kind of a dungeon. There are rooms there where he is being held. Now there is a kind of the gothic atmosphere. Now the chapter opens with a vivid description of the prison where Madhav is confined. The iron-plated walls, heavy doors, dim lamp, and suffocating enclosure creates a dark and terrifying atmosphere. So we are reminded of the Gothic novels, uh, which portrayed such scenes. So the cruelty of Mothur's schemes, it becomes relevant or revealed. It symbolizes moral imprisonment and corruption on Mothur's part. A Gothic mood of mystery and fear is created, and this dungeon uh, resembles a living tomb, suggesting the deadly danger in which Madhav finds himself. So, Bankim Chandra's descriptive power is very much evident here in this chapter. Now, Madhav's heroic character, it is portrayed. He is imprisoned and helpless, but he refuses to lose his dignity. He walks calmly around the cell and treats his captors with contempt. So he does not bow down to them. He shows courage under adversity and self control, moral superiority, intellectual strength. So he appears as a true heroic character here. Now, unlike many fictional heroes who depend upon physical force, Madhav's heroism is expressed through firmness of character and mental resilience. Even the dacoits, they feel a certain respect for him despite being his enemies. So he becomes a heroic figure here. The two kidnappers, that is Sordar and Bhikkhu, their characters are further uh, portrayed. Sordar is not portrayed as a mere brute. He is an intelligent, calculating, and he's capable of strategic thinking. He does not always use force. Uh, he tries to break Madhav's pride through sarcasm and psychological pressure. He puts psychological pressure on Madhav to sign that paper. Bhikkhu serves as a contrast to his chief. He is more superstitious, talkative, and easily frightened. So he has a fear of ghosts. His fear of supernatural influences adds both tension and realism to the narrative. So together they represent two aspects of criminality: organized intelligence and ignorant superstition. So this is the portrayal of the two dacoits. Psychological conflict obviously is there. The Sardar is attempting to humiliate Madhav, forcing him to surrender to the will, break his confidence. Madhav responds through silence. He remains silent. He sometimes tries to reason in a calm way and in a controlled defiance. So it is a battle of wills rather than a battle of weapons. Obviously, it reaches a new level, a new psychological dimension, which gives this chapter unusual depth. Now, the mystery of those strange sounds. So, we hear in this chapter the repeated occurrences of mysterious groans and shrieks coming from within that building. So, when Madhav is talking with the two dacoits, it interrupts the conversation and disturbs the dacoits. So, they feel very disturbed. It increases the suspense and creates an atmosphere of supernatural terror. So, those sounds are, they appear to be not coming from any human source. The repeated noises are never immediately explained, which keeps both the characters and readers in a state of uncertainty. Bankim skillfully exploits the fear of the unknown to heighten dramatic tension. So the novelist does not uh, explain from where those sounds are coming. Now we come across the theme superstition versus reason. The chapter presents an interesting contrast between superstition and rational thinking. Bhikkhu quickly assumes that ghosts or spirits may be responsible for the strange sound, so he is very much superstitious. The Sardar initially resists such fears and tries to investigate logically. However, Madhav suggests a rational explanation that another prisoner may be confined in a neighboring cell. So obviously, Madhav suspects that there is someone else. So we see the ignorance of the criminals here, Madhav's intelligence, obviously, and the power of fear to influence human behavior. Bankim Chandra frequently uses such contrast to distinguish morally and intellectually superior characters from weaker ones. So, obviously, this is a strategy. The theme of greed is there. The entire kidnapping revolves around the desire to obtain a will that affects property and inheritance. Money remains the motivating force behind the conspiracy. Mothur's greed is exposed. Dacoits' mercenary nature. They want money. The corrupting influence of wealth is there. The pursuit of wealth often leads to moral degradation and criminal behavior. That is seen. Madhav's strategic intelligence. As the chapter progresses, Madhav realizes that direct resistance is impossible. He decides to write a note requesting the will. So we can see his practical wisdom, presence of mind, and strategic thinking. If we look at the narrative technique, Bankim Chandra employs several effective narrative techniques: detailed setting and atmosphere, gradual build-up of suspense, psychological dialogue, mystery, and unexplained events, delayed revelation. So all these things are uh, revealed in this chapter. They are, they are sort of uh, increasing the suspense and the psychological build-up. And obviously, dramatic excitement is created because of the repeated sounds, the strange, ghostly sounds. So we can say chapter 18 is a chapter which is one full of suspense. The gothic atmosphere is created, psychological conflict is built up, mystery. There is a sense of mystery very much that is very much present here. Madhav's characterization is done here, a courageous and intelligent hero. So we start to admire his courage. He is Bankim Chandra, that is, he is exposing the greed and fear that dominate the minds of the villains. So everything that is portrayed here, it builds up a powerful sense of drama. So Bankim Chandra here blends realism with suspense, making it a crucial and memorable stage in the novel's movement towards the climax. So we are slowly nearing the end of the novel. Now chapter 19, Madhav and Tara. So chapter 19 is one of the most dramatic and significant chapters. It serves as the climax of the mystery that has been developing through the previous chapters and reveals the fate of Matungini. The chapter combines suspense, psychological insight, and social commentary, displaying Bankim Chandra's skill as a novelist. So the drama suspense is resolved here. It is built up. The atmosphere of uncertainty and tension. Madhav, recently rescued from captivity, unexpectedly encounters Tara in the Godown Mahal. When the dacoits they go away because of the strange sounds. The strange cries and mysterious sounds continue to echo through the building, creating a gothic atmosphere. The repeated shrieks intensify the suspense and drive the characters to investigate further. Now they discover this hidden staircase and a secret chamber uh, that is there. Tara emerges as one of the most admirable characters here. Her courage, intelligence, devotion to her husband are clearly revealed. She is concerned about Mothud's strange behavior. She secretly takes the keys from beneath his pillow and ventures alone into the dark godown to discover the cause of his distress. So she suspects that something is there which she wants to uh, see. Her actions demonstrate remarkable determination and self-sacrifice. She represents the ideal of the devoted yet independent-minded woman. The relationship between Madhav and Tara. Bankim carefully portrays the relationship between Madhav and Tara as one of pure affection and mutual respect. They were childhood companions, and their bond resembles that of brother and sister rather than romantic lovers. This portrayal is important because it emphasizes moral integrity and prevents any misunderstanding in their relationships. Now, their trust in each other enables them to work together in uncovering the mystery. So they find out the cause of this, the sounds and everything. So again, the active role of women in the narrative. Tara refuses to remain a passive observer and takes risks to uncover the truth. Unlike many conventional female characters of 19th century fiction, she acts decisively and independently. Bankim thus presents women as capable of courage, intelligence, and moral strength. Now, the symbolism of the hidden chamber, which is revealed. Concealed room symbolizes the hidden crimes and secrets of society. The secret chamber, inaccessible and invisible from outside, reflects the concealed suffering endured by Matungini, where she was confined. The discovery of the chamber represents the triumph of truth over secrecy and oppression. Uh, the chapter reaches its emotional climax when Madhav and Tara discover Matungini imprisoned in the secret room. The sight of her pale, emaciated, and suffering figure shocks both characters and the reader. This revelation exposes the cruelty and villainy of those responsible for her confinement and creates deep sympathy for a tragic condition. So ultimately, Madhav and Tara they rescue her. The narrative technique, obviously, there is a gradual disclosure of information, use of mysterious sounds to maintain suspense, psychological realism in the reactions of Madhav and Tara, dramatic pacing that leads steadily towards a climactic revelation. And all these techniques make the chapter one of the most exciting sections of the novel. So, chapter 19, we can say it is constructed with a lot of skill. There is mystery, suspense, emotional intensity, social insight. So, through Tara's bravery, Madhav's determination, and the shocking discovery of Matangini, Bankim advances the plot towards its resolution while highlighting themes of loyalty, courage, suffering, and the search for truth. So, the chapter stands as a fine example of Bankim Chandra's narrative craftsmanship. Now, let us move on to chapter 20. Some women are the equals of some men. This is titled in this way. So, the resolution of the novel starts here. Bankim Chandra shifts the focus from suspense to moral and psychological exploration to the resolution. So, the courage of and integrity of both Matangini and Tara are highlighted. The title of this chapter is very significant. It reflects by Bankim Chandra's admiration for the moral courage, determination, and resilience displayed by women such as Matangini and Tara. So, it was obviously the 19th century society where women were often considered weak and dependent. Here, the chapter challenges such assumptions by portraying women who exhibit remarkable strength and independence. Now, we are uh, given the description of how Matangini then she tells about how she came to be imprisoned there. Mathur Ghosh, who was aided by Suki's mother, had trapped her in this secret chamber and attempted to force her into submission. However, Matangini refused to surrender her honor. Mathur threatened to break her resistance through starvation. She responded with equal determination and chooses to starve rather than yield to his desires. So her steadfastness transforms her into a heroic figure. Her moral strength is obviously something that surpasses physical suffering. Mothur's villainy is exposed, and the depravity of Mathur Ghosh. He tries to exploit Matangini. It demonstrates his moral corruption, abuse of power. He is driven by lust, pride, and revenge rather than genuine affection. So, through this character, Bankim Chandra presents the destructive consequences of unchecked desire and selfishness. Tara's moral greatness, she emerges as one of the real noble characters. She not only helps rescue Matangini but also protects her afterwards by concealing her safely. So, her husband's crimes are revealed. She acts according to her conscience rather than her marital loyalties. Her inner suffering is portrayed with great sympathy, making her a tragic, though an admirable figure. Considerable psychological insight is there in this chapter. Tara becomes extremely troubled. She is anguished when she learns about her husband's secret crimes. She remains outwardly calm while inwardly devastated. And Matungini's trauma, her exhaustion, and quiet dignity after her rescue are portrayed with sensitivity and restraint. Themes of female solidarity that is very much in evidence. The bond between the two women, Tara's support for Matungini and Hemangini's emotional reunion with her sister illustrates the strength of female relationships. These bonds provide comfort and protection in a world dominated by male authority and violence. Now, even after her rescue, Matangini remains committed to her principles. Although she is deeply grateful to Madhav, she decides to leave and return to her father's home rather than remain near him. So, this decision reflects a desire to avoid any possibility of social misunderstanding and preserves her moral integrity. Her conduct throughout the novel embodies self-sacrifice and honor. Now, Bankim Chandra reveals a kind of a progressive views on women. He portrays Matangini and Tara as morally superior to many of the male characters. He questions patriarchal assumptions about female weakness. So, true strength lies not in physical power, but in courage, virtue, and endurance that is revealed. So, chapter 20 comes to an end. It is a powerful study of courage, morality, and female resilience. Matangini's heroic resistance is revealed. Tara's loyalty and comparison with the exposure of Mothur's wickedness. So the novel sort of runs towards its conclusion. Last chapter in Life's book, and in this, Bankim Chandra mentions that this is the last chapter. The novel is brought to a dramatic and tragic conclusion by depicting the downfall of Mothur Ghosh. So a moral resolution comes in. The last chapter obviously refers to the final chapter, also the final chapter in Mothur Ghosh's life. Bankim Chandra deliberately links the conclusion with the narrative and the end of the villain's career, who has to commit suicide, collapse of Mothur Ghosh's power and influence. Now, once he was wealthy and respected, but now uh, the Sardar comes in and tells that Viku had been arrested and he has confessed. So obviously, Mathur is in danger, and the fact that crime inevitably leads to punishment that is there, and the plot against Madhav is revealed, the collaboration with the criminals, and it destroys Mathur, the wrongdoer. So fear of a guilty man is portrayed. The stormy night mirrors Mathur's inner turmoil, and he initially believes that his wealth and influence can save him, but he understands that his position is hopeless. So the storm is symbolic. It also portrays his inner feelings. The role of fate and justice is obviously there. Guilt itself becomes a form of punishment. So moral justice prevails. Uh, Bunkim's moral vision, Bunkim belief in a moral universe. Virtuous characters, Matangini, Madhov, Hemangini, Tara, they survive. But evil characters, they are uh, punished. Bunkim employs several effective literary techniques: stormy setting, to create atmosphere, gradual increase of tension through warnings and revelations, psychological realism, dramatic irony, powerful conclusion. So this chapter is actually the it concludes the novel. So obviously we can see the downfall of Mathur Ghosh. Chapter combines suspense, psychological depth, symbolism, moral instruction. Now, Bankim Chandra adds a conclusion to this. It is a kind of an epilogue. What happened to the other characters? So he's informing us. Epilogue to the main narrative. No dramatic action is there, but the narrator is addressing the reader directly, summarizing the characters' lives, what happened to them. He turns out to be a historian. The triumph of moral justice is obviously referred to. Now, Matangini's tragedy, she, after her rescue, she does not remain in Madhav's household because of the sense of personal honor. She goes back to her father's home, uh, but she dies there at a very young age. And obviously, her death gives this novel a tragic dimension. So she becomes a tragic heroine whose suffering continues until the end of her life. Right from the beginning of the novel till the end, we are, uh, you know, given the her life events. Tara is the ideal woman. Obviously, the Tara's fate contrasts with Matangini. She spends many years mourning the shameful end of her husband, and now she later, when she dies, she is mourned by many people. There is realism and uncertainty. The narrator does not provide detailed information about every character, but Madhav, Champak, others, he simply remarks that some are dead and others will die. So this understated ending reflects the ordinary passage of life and death rather than in something fairy tale like conclusion. So there is a conversational tone, narrative voice is there, which was there in the 19th century fiction. So let us conclude this novel with looking at these points. So conclusion reinforces several major themes: ultimate punishment of crime and or wrongdoing, triumph of virtue and moral integrity, suffering and sacrifice of women, the importance of honor and social reputation, the transience of human life and worldly achievements. All these are themes that are highlighted. So, this is an effective conclusion, we might say. The moral strands of the novel are brought together. There is no excessive sentimentality, but the characters' destinies are portrayed with restraint and dignity. There is a mixture of justice, tragedy, realism, which is there. So, it is a conclusion that um, Bankim Chandra weaves in this way. So, not just a summary of events, but a kind of a moral epilogue. So here, obviously, realism and moral purpose is combined together. So obviously, this novel, as you know, it is regarded as one of the earliest novels, perhaps the first Indian English novel. It is a novel written in English by an Indian writer. So this is the analysis that I have tried to present to you, and maybe um, uh, I don't know whether you have followed all the classes, but if any of you have done so, so I think you have got a fair idea of these themes and every character portrayals and all the settings and everything regarding Rajmohan's wife.